right. So this week we're actually at Build It when this thing is going to air. So I'm pretty excited to be there. But right now, let's talk about with Sunny and Bill about the future of IT. Sunny is from IT by Design. He has something to do with that conference. I think he's a minor deal there. And Bill is an expert on all things MSP. So what I want to do is talk in this podcast. Like the winds are changing. There's pressure on the market right now, and being in the industry for the past 20 years for me is I can see when there's inflection points when the system's going to change into cloud. When we had more move into direct delivery of PCs back in the late 90s. Um, what we want to do is figure out what does the future of IT service providers and MSPs look like? Who wants to take that one first? What does this future of IT service providers look like? What's going to change here in the next 5 years?
So I can start. I mean, I think a few things, and some of these are very obvious. So, forgive me if it does sound obvious, but I think some of it is obvious, right? So certainly what we're seeing in AI right now. So, everything around Chat GTP, the things that we're starting to see with BART, with Google, and these types of things. So we're seeing a lot of clients looking for ways of how do they apply and how do they adopt these new types of technologies. And I think for MSPs, creating service deliverables and service offerings around that, I think is something that we need to, be able to, number one, use ourselves internally to improve our own businesses and leverage it for our own businesses. And then secondly, really being able to provide it as a service or an offering out to our clients. Clients are going to be looking for guidance as to how do they leverage, artificial intelligence or AI technologies to enable their own business and create competitive differentiation for them. So I think that's the first big trend I would say. And then the second is, I just continue to see the morph of cybersecurity, continuing. I think the technology aspects of cybersecurity is relatively straightforward. Ransomware hits, right? So we're going to look at technologies to prevent ransomware, recover from ransomware. I mean, I think that's kind of the easy aspects, but it's really helping clients take an overall, security first approach to their business and the way that they address things. So we're seeing probably 90 to 95% of all conversations we have with clients have some level of security within those. So those are probably, again, everyone's say, yeah, security is super obvious, and so is an AI because it's on every headline of every newspaper right now in the country. But I think those are wins that, without direct question, we got to be at. And Adam, I liked your opening. It was, if you go back 6-7 years ago, even Time magazine, the cover was cloud and getting everybody into cloud. So I still think there's a lot more to do in the cloud space and cloud adoption and leveraging cloud. And certainly cyber and AI are all cloud delivered type technologies and powers. So I think that will stay. Cloud will still be relevant, but I think things like infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, I think some of those things are at a maturity level where most clients know how to adopt those, where I think AI and cybersecurity is still at a very immature space where clients are going to be looking for a lot of help and guidance.
Sure. Sunny, what is your prediction here? What do IT service providers look like over the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, no, I agree with Bill. From technology's point of view, or future business models, from technology point of view, service offerings point of view, AI is gaining momentum, and any MSP figuring that piece out will win in terms of how to do this. How to use this effectively internally, and also be the trusted technology advisor for their SMB customers to adopt AI in a meaningful way when it impacts their business and growth. And so from cybersecurity is going to continue to grow. More and more challenges are there, especially the compliance of what's happening now in Europe on top of everything else in terms of regulations. It's not becoming it's not a nice to have anymore. It's must have from a compliance point of view. So if you're MSP, it's your job, it's your responsibility, accountability, and you will be held accountable if you are not taking care of the basics for your customers as their technology solution provider. The the cloud is the biggest friction with cloud implementations is cloud talent. It's hard to find people, Azure, AWS, like there's such a shortage of cloud and cybersecurity and AI talent. AI is relatively new. So in another piece is the talent landscape is going to continue to change, and it's going to force MSPs, technology solution providers, to figure out a new way to think about their talent strategy. Because in the remote world that is relatively new, post COVID, and the whole from hiring, retaining, how you kind of really engage people, how you do performance management with remote teams, everything changed, and a lot of businesses are struggling with, the productivity, true engagement of their team members that are either in hybrid or remote. So more and more hybrid is here to stay. We see that, we kind of see those reports. But when I look at, like, we do a lot of data research with our partners, like what keeps them up at night and what really is their 5-year 3-year vision. The number one thing that they're seeing is basically the talent to execute well on the new technologies. It could be AI, it could be cloud, it could be cybersecurity. Now, the other piece that keeps them up at night, where they want to, it's a big opportunity, and they want to really leverage the opportunity, and that's what's keeping them up at night, is the competition. What's happening is the space is really, really vibrant. That's why a lot of PE money came into the space. There are more and more wannabe MSPs. They're from copier companies. We have been hearing that from years now. From telecom to, like, any company out there with different value offerings that they had, but they never had MSP offerings for SMBs, because there is so much money in this channel, more and more businesses are coming in. That's one factor with the competition. The second one, Adam, is PE backed, PE power resources, more capabilities in terms of sales marketing to win customers, in terms of delivery, like the overall caliber that they can afford for leadership. They are making it hard for smaller MSPs. So either I see that 3 to 5 years, either you're going to make it, or it's going to be really hard for. I mean, if you want to make it, you need to be able to create that competitive advantage. And then we discussed in the last podcast is the product is the same. PE companies, bigger MSPs, where they're giving a lot more competition to smaller ones, where smaller MSPs, for their not only survival but thriving, is the unique experience that Bill was talking about earlier. If you can differentiate yourself as a unique experience that the bigger MSP can do, because at the end of the day, these businesses started with providing that humanized IT, or that personal touch to the business. These businesses were built on relationship and based on, like, really that in-person experience. So if you understand what will differentiate you, then the competition is not going to be a problem for you. And last but not the least is the talent landscape. Is what we talked about is, if you can sooner, you can build a capability where, using the new talent landscape, the landscape that we are playing in right now, what you need to do today to leverage the best talent to win, like creating that winning team to win against any competition, to build AI, cybersecurity, and cloud practice, because people are going to build that, people are going to sell it, and people are going to provide the experience. So if people can figure that out in the new landscape in the next 3, 4, 5 years, those companies going to be the winners, like Chick-fil-A, because all they have is right experience. Product is the same burger, but it's I mean there is a little bit different, but it's almost the same product, right? It's at the end of the day, it's how you make people feel around you when they are your customers or they're working with you, and what you are doing in terms of the talent that is making that happen.
Yeah, I think we've noticed the same thing with our group of MSPs is that the bespoke or the boutique MSP that says we love dental offices. We love to work with schools. And when they say that, they're unknowingly caring individually because they walk into this client and it's not the first time they've seen a school. They know from the last 13 conversations they've had that this school really cares about the students. They care about making sure that things are easy for their teachers. They care about Chromebook deployment, and they care about E-rate. So they can walk in pre-prepared and say, you know what, we care about this stuff too, and we have built our service model around making sure that this is easy for you. And
Yeah.
I feel like the client feels heard and seen then, and they're willing to spend more for that bespoke or that boutique feel because now you get me.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. I mean, I think there is a lot to be said for expertise in specific verticals. And when you have that expertise in that vertical, you become one of them. I mean, one of the things I've seen with large manufacturers over the years is, if they have something that's going to be good for a hospital, some of their sales leads and their professional leads will be ex-doctors or ex-surgeons, right? You use school as an example. I remember a manufacturer that went out and hired a superintendent from one of the largest school systems in the state of California. And the reason being was that superintendent could come in, talk the language, the expertise, and understand what every other superintendent that gentleman spoke with was looking for and needing. So, to your point, Adam, I do think getting a vertical market or vertical expertise in a specific area can differentiate a lot of MSPs. But I think that also starts at the beginning in the envisioning stage is what are we building? Who are we building it for? And then putting your KPIs to measure success, which is what we talked about in the earlier session we did last week, right? Is really that vision of what am I going after? What am I building? What's the value proposition? Who's going to get it? And yes, a lot of MSPs build that based on vertical specialization.
Yeah, I do see that every once in a while. I'll get somebody ask me a question like, how do I get more clients? And they put these broad stroke Facebook ads out there, these broad stroke Google ads out there saying, "I'll take anybody." Like it's not personal. It's just, "Hey, I'll be your IT person." It's like, no, you know what? I care. I come from a history of 20 years of educational institutions. I'm one of you. I was a
Yeah.
teacher for like whatever it is that is your unique value prop, so you can speak to that person on the other side of the screen. I mean, even Sunny, like
And
before you came onto this podcast, one of your first questions to me was, "What's the persona of the people on the other side?" You wanted to care for the people on the other side of this podcast because you want to speak to people and in a way that matters in that relationship. And if you don't know that person, if they're just a paycheck for you, it's going to show in your behavior. But if there's somebody you actually care about, now there's a mission and you've built your culture around that. It's going to show when you walk in the door and like, oh man, three of our account managers are retired teachers or superintendents. That immediately resonates. They're going to pay you that extra cash versus that large conglomerate MSP that's sitting next to you that has every advantage except for culture. And you're going to win. And we've seen that over and over and over again. That's why you humanize your approach to your clients. You can't just be a solution. You have to be a person and you treat them like a person. Sonny looks like about ready to say something other. You're chomping at the bit.
What Bill shared. I think that is where you got to really know your value prop. You need to know who you're serving and what do you have to serve them.
I have a good question. Like, Bill, what directives are you pushing right now in your MSP? to
So
prepare
probably
for.
the Yeah, so the top directive that we have across the board is automation, right? So as Sunny pointed out, there's a talent shortage out there. Hiring is not easy right now, and getting the right skill sets are just not easy right now. So anything that we can take that we can automate, take a person off of that we can then use those talented individuals on our team to further the business and provide higher value. So I would say absolutely top directive from an operational perspective is without question automation. And whether that's simple things like automation of a task or trying to get advanced and solve some problems by leveraging AI ourselves to produce the outcomes. But that is absolutely our top directive right now.
Yeah, we just did a webinar yesterday. I was on a panel where we talked about automation and automating the right things. And it was like SaaS alerts, and they talked about how automating tier one, tier two, so you can push more talent into tier three, and
Mhm.
your account management and your relationships with clients, and then automating that low end activities, your processes and procedures, so that you can really grow. It became the theme of that entire webinar with a channel program, was just
Yeah, if you look at
getting started.
so let's just take, I think this is a classic example, and it's a compliment to the company, honestly, in a lot of ways. But if you look at what Amazon has done around user experience, all right, have you ever bought anything from Amazon? Most likely, the answer is going to be yes there. And did you ever talk to an Amazon sales rep? Did you ever interact with a human being? No. But 99.9% of the time, everybody is going to talk about an incredible experience, right? I went on the website, I ordered it within a matter of a few seconds. I had an email confirming my order. I was a Prime member. Next thing I know, I had my FedEx shipping tracking number, and I knew the day it was going to show up. And that overall experience was amazing. And the reality of the situation was there was no human involvement in it. It was 100% automated, right? So I'm not saying there's not the need, especially my last conversations with you, Adam, I talked about the importance of customer service. I'm not going backwards on that, but customer service can't be focused on, what should be automated and mundane tasks. It's got to be what's differentiating your business.
Yeah. Like, I loved the fact that Amazon did the Amazon key. That is like magic to me. Like, I drive home and there's a box secured in my garage just sitting there waiting for me to pick it up, you know? And so that's
And,
kind
and and look at that example, right? But look at that example. I think that's phenomenal. I'm glad you brought that up, right? Amazon saw a problem clients were having. And it was an Amazon problem as well. But the client's problem was thieves was stealing the packages, right? If thieves weren't stealing the packages, the reality is Amazon Key would never have been invented, right? Or implemented. So here was a situation where they said, okay, what's hurting our clients? And in the end, it was hurting them because it was creating customer service calls. Hey, I never got that package. It doesn't matter that FedEx said it showed up. It didn't, right? So it was creating a tremendous amount of inefficiency in their business. Could you imagine what their help desk looked like every time a package got swiped? Right. And getting in that. And even if it was automated, it was flooding an automated session of returns or unsatisfied customers. Right. And through innovation from a technology perspective and automation, they were able to solve that. And in the end, to your point, you're sitting there saying, I just love Amazon Key and I wouldn't buy anything from anything else because my package is secure and waiting for me. So look at the outcome they got. So I think we have to do the same things. We have to make stuff that should be self-service and easy. I use the example of ATM a lot of times with my customers. I mean, listen, I love going in and talking to a human being in a bank. The smiles, the how you doing, they greet you. I think all of that stuff is excellent. But the reality is, if I just need to go grab a quick transaction for some money, I'm most likely just going to hit the ATM and self-service myself, right? So that's the culture. And if you start to look at the younger generations that's coming in the workforce, that's what these people grew up with. I mean, they expect to be able to offer self-service, take care of things, and get it taken care of. So I think you need to be building your business and your culture that way.
Yeah. And if you look at industries over time, like look at automotive industry,
Hmm.
It used to be that everything was hand manufactured. Look at tennis shoes. It used to be everything was stitched together. And then as an industry matures, those processes and procedure based activities get automated. We're there as engineers now.
Absolutely.
We're there in
Yeah,
IT now. Now, how are you going to get on board with that? I love that
exactly.
advice. Um,
Yeah.
and the other thing that came to mind is I talk about the three great virtues. The middle one, hubris, the ability to do things so well that other people brag about them.
Yeah,
Look
yeah,
at your
it's
favorite
true.
companies. You're like, oh my gosh,
Mhm.
they do this so well. My IT
Yeah,
service provider brought me this week, or they
yeah,
did this for me, and it increased my profit margins by like 10% last year. Do things
yeah.
that other people want to brag about.
Exactly. So, there's a great book. I apologize and I feel bad, but the author's name's slipping right now. But it's, turning customers into raving fans. And you're raving. You just raved about Amazon, whether you realized you did it or not. You were raving about them.
Yes. So we're getting close to the end here. Sunny's been quiet over there. I'm going to start with you on this one. What one piece of advice would you give to service providers aside from attending Build It, the must attend event of the year, and coming and getting a unicorn shirt at our booth, and getting whatever else, all the free material you're going to get there to build your MSP? What piece of advice would you give an MSP today to start doing now?
Yeah. So one thing, so when I reflect on my journey and I learn from my experiences, is I wish I have joined a peer group in the beginning, which I did. I started my business in 2003, and I ended up joining around 2010. And what I have learned being part of a peer group community, MSPs peer group, so where we were sharing numbers, we were sharing our thinking, our ideas, and it kind of really was a game changer for me. So if you are part of a peer group, great. If you're not, that's number one advice that I have is be part of a community that's more of collaborative, that is they want to be there for each other, and it's a very supportive group. And I mean, that is what kind of really drives us to put in a lot of resources into creating this build it institution as well, that we have a forum for MSPs where true go-givers come and they share their discoveries, their insights, their struggles, their successes, so that we can learn from each other's experiences rather than making mistakes and then learning. Because wiser people do learn from others' failures and successes. So that is my number one thing that I would like to share. And then don't underestimate the power of soldiers around you, your team around you. So, more emphasis, more time investment in building a winning team, because that winning team is going to take care of a lot of other byproduct business issues for you, from growth, profitability, competition, and everything else.
Bill, any advice from you?
I think mine would be a little more tactical, and I would just say, existing MSPs that are in place today is, positioning yourself for the wave of vendor due diligence that's coming. If you look at the compliance and the regulation, organizations are being asked to evaluate and do due diligence from a cybersecurity perspective against all of their business partners. So if you kind of take just a quick analogy, before you signed a lucrative contract with a business 10, 15 years ago, you might have run a D&B on them, checked their financial health, checked their credit worthiness, maybe called some client references, and who am I partnering with right now? Is this a company I really want to do business with? And what we're seeing is, because of the compliance and regulation around cybersecurity, specifically to vendor due diligence, you as a business partner, and especially the fact that you're touching IT and you're providing IT services, are becoming under increasing scrutiny as to how sound you are as a business partner to partner with. So I would recommend that, you take a hard look at yourself as an organization and be ready to really have somebody come in and inspect you as to, are you worthy to be a business partner from a cybersecurity perspective?
Yep. We just did our SOC 2 this year, and it was eye opening, and it's been very useful because we asked a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, we did our SOC 2 for competitive advantage about 3 or 4 years ago, and I think we were maybe a little bit ahead of the curve. My CTO quotes some numbers, I forget what they are, but there's a very low percentage. It's definitely less than 5% of all MSPs out there are SOC 2 certified. So that's just a great example.
It's hard work. So it's a
It's
great way
very
to
hard work.
differentiate
It's
yourself.
not easy. Yeah.
Well, thank you both for coming on. I know we've run long, but this week is Build It. I scheduled this podcast to be delivered right during the event when we're in Orlando. This is going to be awesome. Stop by the Humanize IT booth for a free unicorn augmented reality shirt. You can see me wearing mine right now. If you put out your camera, it'll actually move and rainbows will shoot and guitars will play. It's pretty awesome. And we will build all of your QBRs for you before you leave the conference. And that is our gimmick this week. And we want to make things easy for everyone. We want to automate your QBR so you can focus on the conversations with your clients rather than building giant slide decks. Thank you, Sunny, for coming on. Thank you, Bill. I hope to have you guys on again. We got some great topics here we could definitely expand upon.
Yeah, thank you, Adam. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Sunny. Thank you both. Have a great weekend.